Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. So I recently sat down and watched the entire mic'd up version of the Super Bowl. We have so many studs in this organization. It's unbelievable. We got Nick Sirianni's version of You Want Philly, Philly. You got Saquon Barkley being the best leader on planet Earth. Every time I hear him speak, every time I see him lead, and I'm not talking about his production on the field. I'm saying when we get a glimpse of the perfect, beautiful human being that Saquon Barkley is, I question how the hell the New York Giants let that man leave their franchise. I don't want to hear it. That, well, we can't pay that much for a running back. I don't want to hear it. That, well, the Giants wouldn't have been better off with the RB, knowing that there's so many other holes. Like, what are you doing? You don't let people like that ever walk out of your building. And he was essentially begging the Giants to keep it. Please, please. I love it here. I want to be here. I love New York. And they still kicked his ass to the curb. Thank you. Thank you for being idiots. Thank you for being incompetent. Thank you for having people in your franchise that essentially, they deliver malpractice every single time they speak and every action they make. Thank you. Saquon Barkley. I don't want to diminish anybody else on this team because this was a collective effort. They played complementary football to a T. When you open up the dictionary and you try and get a definition of what complementary football is, it's the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. It is such a perfect blend. So trust me, there's a lot more to this than just Saquon. But my God, was Saquon Barkley such a massive piece to this thing being real. For this thing ending the way that it ended. For this season being as special as it was. Saquon Barkley was an insane part of this. He's the best. He's the best. So during this mic'd up version of the Super Bowl, right? A few things. I guess I'll start with Saquon. But when they are blowing the Chiefs out, the way he's walking to his teammates on the sideline, and I know this is tough to visualize if you're just listening to the audio version, which you can find on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you leave a 5-star rating and a review, that would help out tremendously with the algorithm. So do not forget, if you're a YouTube watcher, you can take me on the road with you. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see my hand movements here. He was essentially saying, stay here, saying, stay even keel, stay in the right headspace, stay in the right attitude, or, have the right attitudes. Stay where we need to be until that clock hits 0. It's 0-0. The score is tied. We are not up. We have to stay focused. Stay here. Stay here. And that's the type of stuff that matters when you're in the moment, when you're in the thick of it, when you're in the grind. And Jalen said something not exactly that same way, but he knows what it feels like to lose a game when you have a double-digit lead in the Super Bowl to that team. So when guys are walking up to Jalen, when they're up 34-0, when they're up 20+0, he goes, dude, I'm scarred. I can't smile right now. Super Bowl 57 destroyed me. Super Bowl 57 fucked with my head. There is no smiling until this thing is officially over. But when you see them during these pressured moments and, they're in the middle of this game and it's 7-0 and it's 10-0 and they're starting to improve and get a bigger lead. And you can just see the way that they stayed so focused. That is credit to Nick Sirianni. That's credit to Vic Fangio. That's credit to Kellen Moore. That's credit to Saquon Barkley. That's credit to Jalen Hurts. And, man, it was so clear what team came out with more piss and vinegar, and it was by such a wide margin. I sound like a broken record. If you go back to last week and the week before, the entire 14 days of podcasting, okay, where I gave you my opinion and my feel on how this game was going to go, I was constantly spreading the noise or spreading the news that this is going to be a team that plays so inspired that they are going to outwork and outcompete Kansas City. But if I'm using a 1 to 10 scale, I thought the Eagles would play at a 12 and the Chiefs would play at a 9.5. The thing is, I don't want to make this seem like the Chiefs just had a bad day, but the Eagles played at a 25, which made the Chiefs play at a 1, if that, probably 0.5, probably 0.25. That's how bad of an ass whooping it was. But the Eagles came out and played maybe at a 50 on a 1 to 10 scale. It was so clear and obvious in the mic'd up episode how much more the Eagles wanted it, how much more prepared they were as a group, how much they were so obsessed with winning. It was impossible for them to lose. The energy was contagious. Milton Williams on the sideline, high-fiving his teammates and jumping up and down after making such an incredible play. And everybody was feeling that juice. Everybody was feeling that momentum. Everybody was buying in. And it was definitely soaking into the fabric of who they were on that day. And it reached such a high level and a high dose that it is physically impossible to match what the Eagles were providing, and not just match it, because what you would have to do is match it and then some. You'd have to even add more fuel. You can't. You can't. And Nick Sirianni walking on the sideline saying, call it. We score here. We win the game. Call it. And there's the deep shot to Devontae Smith to go up 34-0. We keep saying the number. We keep talking about how much of a blowout it is. But when you really think about it, do you know how gnarly it is to be up 34-0 in the Super Bowl in the third quarter? That is a whole new level of obliteration. That is a whole new level of insanity. You don't do that. That's not a thing. What the Eagles just did is not a thing. But it was, because they are so great, because they are so elite. But on the biggest stage against a team that is that familiar with the Super Bowl, the Chiefs are constantly going there year after year after year. You know, maybe that ended up hurting them because they feel they could just roll the ball out and win because, well, they're the Chiefs. I don't know. So maybe that did end up biting them in the ass. But ultimately, you don't beat teams 34-0. And I keep saying 34-0 because 40-22 is a joke. 40-22, if I'm in the NFL upper management or if I work for the National Football League, I'm changing the record books. It was not 40-22. It was not. I'm not even giving the Chiefs their damn 6 points. That was a fucking shutout. That was an absolute obliteration. Go fuck yourself. The Chiefs and Pat Mahomes scored 0 points in my mind. I actually get aggravated thinking that this was an 18-point game. Seriously, you know what's funny? It was an 18-point lead. Do you know how hard it is to win in the Super Bowl by almost 20 points? It was so bad, and it was beautiful for me. It was good for me. It was great for me. It was the best for me. But it was so bad for the Chiefs that almost a 20-point loss, everybody who watched the game and watched the action play out, they all say the same thing. Well, it wasn't even that close. Close! We're talking about almost 20! It wasn't that close. Almost 20! In the bowl, in the big dance! Wow, man, wow. Score here, it's over. Call it, says Nick Sirianni, the guy who has been ridiculed for not having that much of an impact. And I was one of them. And I'll preface it every time by saying that because I won't run away from it. But damn it, I love you, Nick. I love you, Nick. Him jumping up and down, screaming after big touchdowns are scored. It's contagious. The Nick Sirianni experience, it's the perfect blend. It's the perfect mix with Vic Fangio, with Jalen Hurts. It works. It really does.